Hello, this is Kopal, and we're in office hours. We're bypassing the generic advice and going straight to the source, interviewing titans of academia and the industry to get you to bridge the gap between financial theories and ruthless execution. Today, we have with us Professor Dr. Jaslene Bawa, who has received her PhD in Finance and Accounting from IIM Raipur and has over 5 years of research experience in the equity markets in India. We're here for our conversation on why women are the secret weapon in risk management. Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you very much, Kopal, for inviting me.
Professor Jasleen, in our CFA Level 1 studies, they focus a lot on financial statement analysis and portfolio management. And from your research in banking performance, where do you see the biggest blind spots in how traditional banking is currently calculating risk in a high interest rate environment?
Okay, so first of all, let me curate what CFA is about because that might come in handy for a lot of students. If you're looking at something like becoming an asset manager, portfolio manager, PMS manager, CFA is a very important degree in addition to your graduation because it sets you apart. Plus, it's a dedicated set of hours that you're giving for learning what's happening across the globe. All right. Now, as you rightly mentioned, FSA is a very important part of it because it covers IFRS, it also covers GAAP.
Hmm.
Now, GAAP is predominantly there only for US,
Yeah.
whereas IFRS is for the rest of the world. Now, how do I get into the shoes of an analyst and compare two financial reports, one which is presenting in GAAP and one which is presenting in IFRS? That's one of the reasons why CFA pays so much attention to it. Second part is your portfolio management. If you're a portfolio manager, you need to assess what's the risk that your portfolio has. Now, portfolio can be an equity portfolio, it can be a commodities portfolio, it can be multiple assets across the board, right? And as a portfolio manager, you need to set up your objective, you need to know your risk, you need to know your returns, you need to know your business cycles.
Hmm.
There's numerous things that are involved. So, if I say only two subjects, technically not, you're covering a
A
lot
lot
more,
more.
right? And it's very intense as well. Um, Looking at banking, that's in terms of that's a small portion which you cover in level 1 CFA, but traditional banking has moved towards a lot of dynamism.
Okay.
You have a lot of AI involved in most of the organizations today.
Yeah.
Um, the slight example would be the banking app that you have. Whether it is one app which I really like is the ICICI Bank app.
Okay.
It's so savvy, it's so lovely,
Mm-hmm.
and at the tip of your finger, you can do everything.
Yeah.
Same thing goes for Axis. Even Yono has tried to emulate the same. Same thing goes for HDFC, although it does trip multiple times. But
Okay.
they're trying to make life simple for a modern day consumer. Now, whenever you clock in information, all of this gets streamed into their data.
Yeah.
Right from just getting a loan on one tap, they do have risk frameworks,
Hmm.
they do have analytics, they have large learning models where they put up a lot of information about a
Yeah.
client and see what works and what doesn't work. All right. So, talking about blind spots, let's not go there, that gets too daunting, but majorly they're trying to implement all the risk frameworks which are prescribed under Basel III. They do use AI very extensively. Some of the organizations do it very extensively from what I know, and some of them are still learning and
Hmm.
grasping at the roots of it and trying to move ahead
Right.
with times.
Yeah.
If that answers your question.
It does. Is the current banking infrastructure in India prepared for a liquidity crunch, or are we over reliant on how traditional banking is, or how traditional banking is not accounting for the fintech disruptions in India?
Okay, so now you need to understand one thing, that tr- uh, traditional banking involves all the banks which are registered under RBI.
Yeah.
Now, fintech, although a later phenomenon, has certain pitfalls associated. Although that's a very good concept because it's kind of promoting inclusion.
Hmm.
All right. However, if you look at the Dhanjan Yojana and so on, that also aims at the inclusion.
Yeah.
And if you look at a bank like State Bank of India,
Hmm.
it has branches all across India, even in the most rural parts where you wouldn't find a bank. You can withdraw money, there are facilities available, there'll be a person who takes the machine, he gets it done, all facilities get given. Now, you need to understand the apex organization, which is the RBI, monitors their liquidity on a weekly basis, on a 15-day basis, monthly basis. If there's a particular crunch that comes in, they do make sure that the
Yeah.
liquidity is provided for. Now, if you're referring to something like a PCMC bank crisis, that's a cooperative.
Okay.
Cooperatives have always been like a pain point for RBI
Hmm.
because these are state run. Some of them have various other associations which I would not like to spell out, but you can read up on it. And what problem one faces with it is that when you have a system which is state run, although the RBI has tried to incorporate as much as possible, they do try to monitor their liquidity.
Okay.
Now, there's also a possibility like when you look at fintechs, you need to see at how their funding occurs. Like, for example, if you're a traditional bank, as what you are deeming it under
Hmm.
RBI,
Yeah.
it can be a private sector bank or a public sector bank, it can be a small finance bank,
Hmm.
right? These are all registered, they have set rules, they cannot
Yeah.
move around, they need to maintain their CRR, SLR, they need to keep liquidity, they need to maintain LCR, they need to maintain NSFR, they have
Huh.
to do everything.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at it, how do they raise funds?
Through angel investors, through initial capital funding.
So, one part is that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they also tie up with banks so that the end clientele can receive money.
Huh.
Now, the issue with some part of fintech is how do you assess the credit worthiness of a
Hmm. That's
customer?
why neobanks come in, right?
Yeah, so all these things, the credit worthiness of a customer or rating of a customer is very well assessed by a traditional bank.
Hmm.
You have an existing relationship with the bank, they know how much money is there. There's also something known as aggregate depositor service,
Hmm.
where now if you subscribe to that, they will know what exactly is happening across all your bank accounts.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of these things which have come in. However, now the fintech is only going to be going after your CIBIL.
Hmm.
That CIBIL, how frequently is it updated? Every day?
Right.
Not
Not
really.
really,
So
no.
probably at the end of the month you'll receive some update that this has happened. In between you may
Hmm.
have gone and approached two banks or fintechs and taken a loan and then said, "Bhai, I'm happy."
Yeah.
So it becomes very difficult. The target audience of a fintech is very different compared to a traditional bank also.
Also, most fintechs also started looking at your consumer spending patterns to give you loans, etc. So
Yes.
their frameworks are also very different from how traditional banks
Yes,
function.
but if you look at the broader scheme of things, what I feel, it's my belief,
Of
nobody
course.
else's. Eventually, these fintechs they will take the technology. Traditional banks are going to build up on it
Right.
because to sustain so much funding, you need a constant inflow.
Hmm.
Angel investors and private equity are not going to continue pumping in
Pumping
money.
in money.
There's also some systems where they tell you'll get an extra return, you put in
Uh,
money and then go on. But then are you allowed to accept deposits? So it's a very regulated framework. India tries to manage, and Indian banking system has been pretty safe.
hmm.
If you put your money, you'll get it back. Even RBI said 5 lakh worth of deposits, if you have in any bank under the insurance scheme, you will get it back.
Right.
Multiple joint accounts, joint deposits, different name flips, probably in separate banks. Each of the bank is going to provide you under the insurance scheme.
Yeah.
So, people want money safe. While taking a loan, you can recklessly take loans. But then you're going to spoil your CIBIL. Okay,
Hmm.
fine, you spoil your CIBIL. Then whom else do you go to?
Fintechs.
Yeah, so you start with larger banks.
Hmm.
You try to get your loans, you spend, you spend, you spend. Then after your larger banks, you come to your NBFCs.
Hmm.
They're also going to check your CIBIL. Okay, fair enough, picked up. Then you go to your fintech.
Fintechs,
Okay, like give me
neobanks,
money.
yeah.
I'm unsecured. Give me money. It's like very similar to a personal loan, right?
Correct, yeah.
So it becomes difficult to getting the recovery. Then how do you get the money back? So the whole in the large scheme of affairs, you need to figure out how things fit into the puzzle.
Got it. That makes sense.
Technology is good. I'm not saying no to the technology.
I think technology is doing really well in fintech. So, your research focuses on research and your interests focus on gender diversity in the boardroom as well. And I want to know, what does the data say about the correlation between women in leadership opportunities, leadership roles, and a firm's risk adjusted return on capital?
Okay, so what you're referring to is only in terms of financial institutions.
Yes.
So typically, it is found that if a certain percentage of women are there on the board, with the competent level of education and experience, it tends to soften the risk that is undertaken.
Right.
Because it's traditionally assumed that men are the risk takers.
Okay.
Uh, there is a certain level of risk taking which is very, very high that men undertake. Women, on the contrary case, tend to bring the risk down. They are careful. However, I will not give it as a blanket statement. There are certain cases where women have been on the at the helm, and still there have been major problems that have
Yeah,
come
of
in.
course.
So these are one odd exceptions, but overall they try to look at and considerably enhance the system, ensure it goes very methodically,
Hmm.
and at the end of it, reduce the tail risk that any organization faces.
Okay. So, if the data proves that women are in some way helping reduce the tail risk on these financial services companies, etc., why is it that risk management is still a very male dominated industry?
Typically speaking, you need to know a lot of stats.
Okay.
Um, I'm not going to put in a bias that women are not good with numbers, they are. But traditionally, it's been a men's role. If you look at the US, you will find that typically risk committees did include one female.
Okay.
Specifically post the 2008 crisis, there was a lot of accountability measures which were put in. You had the Dodd-Frank Act and so
Yeah.
many things which came in. And eventually you realize that sometimes they even chaired the committee. However, in India, you might not have such a high level pace. I'm not saying women in India are not competent, but by the time they come into the entire system, the very few handful who actually rise up till the top, probably because of family priorities, or they take a setback in terms of their career when their family expands. So that's a very predominant case, or they want to pick up a job which is not very highly stressful.
Hmm.
uh, Even if they're taking up stress, I'll not kind of create a bias here. You can do everything, but you have to manage everything as well. So it's your choice.
Right.
Like, for example, you have Indra Nooyi.
Yeah.
She can handle both, but you need a very strong support system at the house. So same thing happens is when you're working in a banking industry, there have been numerous women. I'm not going to name them,
Yeah.
but you can go back in the Indian banking industry. There are women who have been at the helm. However, handling the helm requires a lot of sacrifices as well.
Correct.
It's not only competence, but it's
Yeah.
also sacrifices. So gradually you see that the funnel, where you have 20 men,
Narrows
you
in
will
a
have
way.
probably like two odd women in the entire system who will come up to the top.
So in a way, it's like I completely agree with you, the whole support system aspect of it. And I think it comes also from a very pipeline problem. At some point, it's about priorities, and a lot of the times, they may not be the same as.
It may not align, and I'm not saying women can't. I have a lot of people whom I know who've been at the helm as directors.
Yeah,
uh, that's a very demanding thing, but there have been, it's
yeah,
they are competent, they've done very well, and they are where they are.
yeah. With the right support system, I think.
Yeah, but you need to stand out. That's also essential. You need to work. You need to prove that you're good. It's not only men, it's also women.
Yeah.
Both have to ultimately prove that you're worthy of the job.
Yeah.
And ultimately, whether you're trainable, whether you can lead, whether you have more EQ, whether you can include people,
Hmm.
all these things come naturally to women. So you do
Definitely.
find women, but uh, it depends on the task that's at hand.
Right. So, for a woman aiming for a seat at the table in corporate finance and banking, do you think it's better to be a generalist who understands all aspects of the business or a specialist in some niche like M&A or risk? And which path do you think leads to more equity and ownership faster?
Okay, so you're trying to address two separate things.
Okay.
One is you can be a generalist and then become a specialist
Mm-hmm.
because you need to know a lot of things, how an organization works. Because your ultimate question is, how do I get a seat at the table?
Correct.
That means, how do I become a director? How do I get ESOPs and so on? Now, your journey may begin as a generalist and then you may find your niche because until and unless you explore everything, you're not born with the thought that you're only going to do risk, or probably you're only going to do treasury,
Yeah.
or probably you're only going to do credit appraisal, or you're only going to do marketing, or
Mm.
you're only going to look at deals.
Right.
Right. So everything has a very different skill set. It's like a big umbrella where smaller shreds are available and you need to figure out where you fit in. Like, for example, many women are very good at marketing.
Yeah.
That's the natural way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they wouldn't be good at risk. So it depends on where you fit in. But if you don't know all the roles that are there,
Yeah.
and then you eventually say, oh, I should have done risk, it becomes very difficult. So figure out, spend time in each area that you feel,
Hmm.
get a hold of it, then decide what you want to specialize in. Some people use the opposite approach also.
Yeah.
They're very focused, like, okay, I want to be a portfolio manager in the debt segment. If you sit down today and figure out how many fund managers are women in India,
Yeah.
so you can actually count on your fingers. Although
You
there's
can.
still a very high emphasis on the type of women who've come in, they're very dynamic, they're very good at their work. They also promote other women. They also trying to educate the general public over what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, traditionally speaking, if as it used to be in olden days, go for general and then go into your niche
Hmm.
because you know what's happening around. Because it helps if you're planning to go up the top,
Yeah.
you should know what's happening on the ground. Like
Absolutely.
many of the CEOs and all many of the directors, they do work from the ground, they experience, then they come at the helm
Yeah.
because that's always valuable experience. Communicate with your client, figure out what's good for them. Now the next part is once you enter a niche, sometimes you get stuck in that niche.
Okay.
Like for example in risk, you can
Okay.
maximum become a chief risk officer, then what?
Right.
But if you're a CA,
Hmm.
you can always become a CFO.
Right.
So it depends what you want to do.
Correct.
Like if you're a CFA, you can get into so many roles. It's
Hmm.
up to you how you want to designate.
Yeah.
So you may be a CFA, some kids also pursue FRM.
Hmm.
So I have a friend who actually did CFA when he was doing his masters.
Yeah.
Then he did his FRM also in that same go within a period of 8 9 months.
Okay.
And then he went and worked for a private equity firm.
Wow.
So he was just like, okay, I'll go and do what I feel like. So it depends on what you want to do. There's another friend of mine who joined a private sector bank. She was my batchmate, and she worked there under a certain segment, and then now she's heading one of the organization's division in the US. So it's not that she's
Yeah.
not doing that with her family and so on. It depends on
Right.
how you want to take it forward.
Correct.
And she's working in the derivatives segment.
Wow.
So there are numerous opportunities available. You need to figure out where you want to fit in.
I wish someone had told me that when I was in my first year, but anyway. So, in your experience watching students enter the workforce, what is this hidden curriculum that you think that women miss, even students in general miss when they're going to start working in companies, etc.? And what is something that the classroom doesn't teach you about negotiating for power, for opportunities?
It's a hard question to answer because it might ruffle a few feathers. I'll answer it as politely as possible. Networking is the biggest key to moving anywhere. See, you can be smart,
Mm-hmm.
you can be very intelligent, but if you don't network, you never know about the opportunities. Once you get the opportunity, you figure out your fit,
Mm.
perform, get ahead, network further, get ahead. So the important part is network correctly. Don't
Okay.
waste your time on nuisance networks.
Okay.
As you grow older, you'll start realizing your friend circle kind of reduces. Be with the people whom you know have similar traits because it helps you grow.
Hmm.
Next part is when you're networking, try to cut out the nonsense. So there are certain networking groups which you will feel, they just come to rant about something.
Yeah.
Cut that out. Although you will get some pieces of information. There'll be another network group who is very well performing. They will give you relevant information, but they'll want something in return. So
Mm.
that's the second
Transactional.
set. It's very transactional. There's a third one. You help me, let's help out,
Yeah.
let's grow together. What do you bring onto the table? So there's some senior set of people, there's some
Yeah.
people who are at your level,
Hmm.
so you know where you stand compared to your peers in the same industry, and plus what are the opportunities which are
Right.
available, because ultimately it's a ladder that you need to climb, so you need to put your hand at every place
Every
and walk up.
That makes sense.
Try to avoid, this is something which I believe, don't try to kill the other party just to get on top,
Yeah.
because ultimately karma comes to eat and it kicks very hard. Try to be decent. If somebody is trying to be mean and nasty to you, step aside, protect yourself, defend yourself, but at the same time don't throw the other party under the bus.
Yeah, you don't have to be the same as them.
Yeah, but in the corporate life, you'll find every sort of person. So be mentally ready. There's not going to be any parent whom you can go running back to. You will have to work long hours. Probably you must have worked 15 hours today. Next morning at 6 a.m., you have to reach office because there's some deal
Mm.
being done. You don't have a choice at that time. Unless and until you yourself save money, you have your own portfolio and you run it merrily, that's a very different thing. Or your parents gift you something. But for that, it's going to take time.
Right.
And there's a lot of discipline you need to follow. Discipline is something which you cannot forego. You have to make sure you complete your tasks at hand. Don't be lethargic. It's not that I got bored with this. I know sometimes some things can be very, very annoying, like, oh my god, it's so uninteresting. If you find that uninteresting, just pick that thing and go and search on the web. There's so many portals available now. You have Notebook LM, you have Chat GPT, you have Perplexity, which all of you use. Use
Gemini.
it. You have Gemini, use it. Use it for all these things. It actually enhances your knowledge. Get into coding. Stop this lethargy that, oh my god, I don't know math, I don't know this. Learn. We've all learned our way through. We started with MS DOS in our school. And I learned Python coding. We learned R coding. And I was like, Are, what's happening? That's how you evolve.
Correct.
Right. So stop thinking you can't do it. Just keep on learning something or the other every day.
So I think the industry really appreciates a learner's mindset.
Absolutely. What do you bring to the table?
Yeah,
What if AI comes in? How would you fit in?
that's true.
So that's something for your generation to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
And typically, as a faculty, how do I incorporate AI at every stage so that things go better for you?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, that's what you're going to face.
Absolutely. And I think even in interviews and like recent interactions with HRs and etc., their questions are also like that. That how do you, as a student, as an individual, use AI? So all these companies also want to know that how are you using AI to make everyone's life easier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Writing letters doesn't mean you put your context and then copy the letter and plonk it in your mail as it is. Remove the header and the subscript and then paste it. Although it's very recognizable, humanize it.
Absolutely.
Put your thoughts through it, presents it in a very structured manner. Why not?
Yeah.
It's an aid, it's a tutor. There's
Absolutely.
so many things available with AI.
Yeah. So, if you were looking at a 21, 22 year old's resume with CFA level 1, a really good GPA, probably done 1 or 2 internships as well, what is something that you would look for which would tell you that they actually know how the business works or how money functions?
So, whenever you join a particular place, what I've understood from many people who speak about it, whether they are trainable, one is that. Second thing is whether they do have a steep learning curve.
Okay.
uh, they don't expect you to be able to solve everything or do everything on the first go. You're not going to be the strategist that you assume. Initially, you're going to be doing data crunching. That'll be data entry, which is going to be typically annoying. But can you read the patterns in the data? Can you analyze the data well? Can you figure out what happens? The world is moving at breakneck speed. Are you willing to evolve? Are you willing to put in that extra effort? It doesn't mean that one day you say, oh, I did 18 hours of work, next day you disappear. Consistency is the key. That's
Yeah.
what they're looking for. Not giving excuses every now and then, oh, this happened and I couldn't come. They want to see whether you will be there if you're needed.
Whether you're reliable.
Reliability is a very, very important thing, and whether you are able to deliver the task. I'm not saying flawlessly, but if you receive feedback, you don't go crying. You receive feedback, some bosses will be good, some bosses will be strict. You have to learn to drink whatever bitter truth comes out, get onto the job and get it done.
Absolutely.
So everybody has a different thing. Learning ability, your steep scope of learning, your openness to training, your openness to new things that coming, dependability or durability as I called it, and consistency in performance. These are a few things which everybody looks for.
Right. Do you think projects or, additional things on your resume or CV actually add the value that people say they do? Like, say, for example, a coding project, or you've done some sort of project in college and you've added it.
So I'll tell you about one thing. If you're creating something from scratch, they want to see your mindset, how you go about it.
The process.
Yeah, the prototype may be functional or not, because there have been 2 3 students who've been doing it. The large feedback which I received from somebody whom I've shared it with said to me that seems okay, it's very similar to what the others are offering. How is it different than the platform that's already there? What is new?
Right.
So the newness has to be scalable, the newness has to be consistently upgraded.
Yeah, that makes sense. In concluding thoughts, what is something no one tells you about being a woman in finance?
Okay, very difficult question. You will have to prove yourself again and again.
Okay.
I'm not going to be biased, but if you're the only woman in the room, eyebrows do get raised. Why are you here? It's a question that why you? What's so special? You have to learn to shut down the noise.
Okay.
They'll try to question your integrity. They'll try to question a lot of other things. There are some set of people who will accept everything based on your performance that has happened in the past.
Yeah.
Your past performance does speak. But you will have to prove yourself every day. And I'm not saying it's only a woman, it's also a man that
That's
has to
true.
do it. The only thing is some extra effort needs to come in because they feel what is it that she deserves it and I don't.
Yeah, it tends to be also from the history of us not having that many
Not
opportunities.
really. If you look at history, women have ruled the world without sitting on the throne. You can check a number of kings where women counselors or their mothers or their
Yeah.
wives have actually run the entire throne. So I wouldn't say so, but people wanted to see a man's face. I'm not suggesting you should manipulate that way. Let's not get into that. But the whole point is do your task relentlessly. Be very thorough about what you're commenting, how you take your team and go. Because when you initially come into a all male team, you have to set certain kind of an emotional quotient with them.
The perception should be
The
set.
authority figure doesn't always work.
Okay.
The motherly figure works at times, sometimes the authority figure works.
So the balance.
Yes, it has to be a balance that comes in. Yes, you can yell at your junior for whatever. I'm not saying it's a practice, but it happens if something goes wrong. But or tell them, dude, what are you doing? But the whole point is you will make sure that you consistently perform better than the past.
Okay.
That's something which I have observed. There's no point in feeling, oh, I'm the only woman. Don't get into that
The
mode of
victim mindset is
no
not
victim
necessary.
mindset. You've been given the job, you do it to the T and get done with it. When you retire, they should all feel, oh my god,
God.
she was at the helm.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sitting with us and talking to us about all of these things. I'm sure the viewers and everyone watching is actually taken back so many things from our conversation. Thank you so much for watching. Please give us feedback and talk to us about your takeaways in the comments. Like, share, and follow. And we will see you in the next office hour. Thank you.
Thank you.